Hey everybody, how's it going? So this is an interesting article from Bloomberg. It says the vaccinated are worried and scientists don't have answers. Anecdotes signal a surprising number of infections in vaccinated, and officials must formulate plans despite a dearth of hard data. Anecdotes tell us what the data can't. Vaccinated people appear to be getting the coronavirus at a surprisingly high rate, but exactly how often isn't clear, nor is it certain how likely they are to spread the virus to others. And now there's a growing concern that vaccinated people may be more vulnerable to serious illness than previously thought. There's a dearth of scientific studies with concrete answers, leaving public policy makers and corporate executives to formulate plans based on fragmented information. While some are renewing mask mandates or delaying office reopenings, others cite the lack of clarity to justify staying the course. It can all feel like a mess. We have to be humble about what we do know and what we don't know, says Tom Frieden, a former director of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the head of the nonprofit Resolve to Save Lives. There are a few things we can say definitely. One is that this is a hard question to address. No shit. Absent clear public health messaging, vaccinated people are left confused about how to protect themselves. Just how vulnerable they are is a key variable, not just for public health officials trying to figure out, say, when booster shots may be needed, but also to inform decisions about whether to roll back reopenings amid a new wave of the virus. On a smaller scale, the unknowns have left music lovers unsure if it's okay to see a concert, and prompted a fresh round of hang-ringing among parents pondering what school is going to look like. In lieu of answers, what has emerged is a host of case studies providing somewhat different pictures of breakthrough infections. Variables including when the surveys were conducted, whether the Delta variant was present, how much of the population was vaccinated, and even what the weather was like at the time make it hard to compare results and suss out patterns. It's difficult to know what data might ultimately carry more heft. It's quite clear that we have more breakthroughs now, said Monica Gandhi, an infectious disease expert at the University of California, San Francisco. We all know someone who has had one, but we don't have great clinical data. One of the best-known outbreaks among vaccinated people occurred in the small beach town of Provincetown, Massachusetts, as thousands of those vaccinated and unvaccinated alike gathered on dance floors and at house parties over the 4th of July weekend to celebrate the holiday. And what seemed like a turning point in the pandemic, about 3/4 of the 469 infections were among vaccinated people. Authors of a CDC case study said this might mean that they were just as likely to transmit COVID as the unvaccinated. Even though they cautioned as more people are vaccinated, it's natural that they would account for a larger share of COVID-19 infections, and this one study was not sufficient to draw any conclusions. The incident prompted the CDC to reverse a recommendation it had issued just a few weeks earlier and once again urged the vaccinated to mask up still in certain settings. This is particularly strange to me because at that particular event that we're talking about in Provincetown, Rhode Island, you had people that were, how do I put this? More romantic settings, more intimate, more personal. So you have a setting where you have a lot of people that were kissing, hugging, swapping spit, and because COVID spread in that particular setting, now the CDC is going to ask people to mask up in certain settings. How do you mask up when you're flirting and then kissing people after being on a dance floor with them? Like, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. How do you have intimacy and/or sexual relations but stay safe from COVID by wearing a mask? Like, that's okay. Good one. The rate of mild symptomatic outbreaks in this population was higher because a lot of indoor activity, including intimacy. Okay. So people were getting COVID while being intimate. So wear a mask? A newly released, far larger CDC case study of infections in New York State, meanwhile, found that the number of breakthrough infections has steadily ticked up since May, accounting for almost 4% of cases by mid-July. Those researchers caution that factors such as easing public health restrictions and the rise of the highly contagious Delta variant might impact the results. Yet another CDC case study in Colorado found that the breakthrough infection rate in one county, Mesa, was significantly higher than the rest of the state, at 7% versus 5%. The report suggested it was perhaps because the Delta variant was circulating more widely there, but also noted the ages of patients in Mesa and the lower vaccination rate may have played a role. Research out of Israel seems to back the idea that protection from severe disease wanes in the months after inoculation, and as we went over in the last video, if you're under the age of 60 and you were vaccinated, 39 people in a country of over 9 million had a breakthrough case that led to a hospitalization. But I digress. The information is preliminary and severe breakthrough cases are still rare, but it bolsters the case that some people will need booster shots in the coming months. And you have customers at a bar here in Detroit where the number of people in the state hospitalized with confirmed probable COVID nearly doubled over 10 days in August. Case studies and data from some states in the U.S. have similarly shown an increase in breakthrough cases over time. But with the Delta variant also on the rise, it's difficult to tell whether waning immunity to any type of coronavirus infection is to blame, or if the vaccinations are particularly ineffective against the Delta variant. It could be both, of course. Changing behavior among vaccinated people could be a factor too, as they return to social gatherings and travel and dining indoors. Yes, as you have more people decide that they are not going to live their lives not meeting people, not going to events, not doing things, and then they actually start living their lives again, you're going to have an uptick in things. That is how things are. All that said, some facts are well established at this point. Vaccinated people infected with the virus are much less likely to need to go to the hospital, much less likely to need intubation, and much less likely to die from illness. There's no doubt that vaccines provide significant protection, but a large portion of the nation, almost 30% of U.S. adults, have not been vaccinated, a fact that has conspired with the highly contagious Delta variant to push the country into a new wave of outbreaks, which is why I suggest that people get vaccinated, but if they don't get vaccinated, then that is on them. The vaccines are available at no cost. I know, taxes, yes, I get it, but you get my point. They're available at no cost, and you can get them if you're in a rural area, you can get them if you're in a poor area. So at this point, in my opinion, that's on you. The big picture here is that vaccines are working, and the reason for the spike in the U.S. is we have too little vaccine uptake, Frieden said. To a certain extent, breakthrough cases of any virus are expected. In clinical trials, no COVID vaccine was 100% effective. Even the best vaccines never are. The more the virus is in circulation, the greater the risk of breakthrough cases. It's also common for some aspects of viral immunity to naturally wane over time. For the time being, there are simply more questions than answers. Are breakthrough infections ticking up because of the Delta variant, waning immunity, or a return to normal life? Are vaccinated people more vulnerable to severe illness than previously thought? Just how common are breakthrough infections? It's anyone's guess. It is generally the case that we have to make public health decisions based on imperfect data, Frieden said. Yes, but there is just a lot we don't know. And what I'm finding is that lots of normal, average, everyday people are not saying to themselves, I don't have all of the data, therefore I am not going to live my life. They're saying, I don't have all of the data, but we wore masks and socially distanced for a year and a half. We got vaccinated. We waited. And now we're going to go back to the semblance of something resembling a normal life. What we do know over here, as it says, is that while breakthrough cases are going to be expected, that the chance of hospitalization, intubation, and dying are way less likely by a large margin if you are vaccinated. And that seems to be the point that most people are focusing on and caring about, at least when I travel, when I meet with people, when I'm going about my daily life. That seems to be what most people are focusing on, is that it vastly decreases your chances of needing to be intubated, vastly it decreases your chances of going to a hospital, vastly decreases your chance of death. And do we have perfect data? No, we don't. We do not have perfect data. And when it comes to many things in life, many things where we take risks, we don't have perfect data. But we have enough data for a great number of the population to say, I'm going to live my life. I hope more people choose to get vaccinated. I hope these numbers encourage people to get vaccinated. But it is what it is. I'm kind of curious what you all think about this. It says that science can't keep up with the virus. The vaccinated are worried and scientists don't have answers. But I'm not seeing as much worry. I read a lot of worry. I read nonstop worry when I log on to many of these websites. But when I actually go outside, when I go to a park, when I say hi to my neighbor, when I meet my staff, when I met people in Vegas, when I drive, I'm not seeing that worry manifest itself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.